Okay, thanks very much. We are starting our second session from this morning. And thanks very much for being back after coffee. And then what we are going to present is after this initial session, where we have seen some of the core projects advances, Nadia is going to present us with the GlobalCoast implementation plan, the architecture, the infrastructure, the pilot site activities, and initial funding ideas. So Nadia, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
I promise I will not speak anymore. So this is my second and last one. So here we are trying to do something that is more than we introduced at the beginning. We are trying to revolutionize also the way to work between public and private. And this is really a challenge. We all know. We don't want to think about how complicated it is. But we're not going to solve any problem without getting that relationship at least solved in certain aspects, open the discussion at high level. We need to have this, okay? We can't do everything, especially we are talking about the coastal area with so many customized needs and user requirements. Okay, so sorry I make this as an introduction. So GlobalCoast experiment, why? We had so many good ideas, and we are actually getting them from the projects. We are focusing on the coastal area, on the predicting and observing, actually observing and predicting, and integrating, but we need to have a demo, okay? So we want to, through this experiment, turn the vision of an integrated observing and predicting for the global coastal ocean into tangible reality, okay? So this year, we're going to set the tangible goals. And for coastal communities and researchers worldwide, we want to create globally replicable solutions and standards to manage risk in the short term and plan for mitigation and adaptation in the longer term. And then we want to accelerate the data collection. We can't wait so long. And advance also the data analytics, the work with the data, to be aligned with best practice and open and free data sharing. So how? How do we do this? This is really challenging. So now you start to see a personal setting of, the other one was more professional. I'm going to tell it this way, yeah. So we want to utilize innovative technologies like community science sensors, and you heard already some, but we have much more coming. And high-resolution satellite data. Another problem, I said many times, we under-evaluate the importance of satellite data in the coastal area. We, as a global open ocean community, we have started to make progress when we started to use satellite data. There was no other way. Then Argo came to help us. But we have to take the same road. Otherwise, we were going to fail. Also because of sustainability issues. So for model validation and calibration, we want to deploy a cloud computing platform or platforms for efficient data sharing and service development. We want to downscale. You heard so much. And, what Flame is trying to do is amazing. To introduce the concept of climate downscaling to the coast, with the rivers connected to the coast, with the deltas, with the marshes. This is very important for society. And projection climate projection and identify pertinent indicators. So please join FLAME if you are a community that has not been interfaced yet. And then integrate coastal limited area models and AI-based models to generate accurate and impactful marine condition forecast. And this is Predict on Time that has so much. And I forgot to say that the cloud computing platform will be happy to use the ocean chat when it will be formulated. That will be a real innovation. Okay, create tailored services for coastal community and assess and manage multi-hazard risks effectively. So, the survey, July to October 2023, and it took a long time, but it took especially your time, so we want to make value out of this time because we appreciate that you said that now only in 3 months, only 124 pilot sites offered their expertise and their local community to develop the prototypes. And I'm pretty sure we will go to 500. We have already people asking. But we want to do, we want to show some success, and we will reopen the survey. We will. After we have some initial success with the initial people that came to us. And it's a bit of a fortune being interconnected. It was not, we're not expert in doing questionnaires and surveys. So we reached the community that we could reach with UNESCO channels. Okay, this is the plot, which you already seen, with the 124 sites. They are distributed nicely, not all, in all regions as we would like, but we are, very happy that these at least are the ones that we start with. So we asked you, what are the priority impact areas for your area? So many areas, and you already seen Giovanni, extracting that part for Predict on Time. We ask you, what is your priority impact? And so we have disaster risk reduction, early warning system. To be expected, but it's good to find it again as a first. Because we know how difficult it is to adopt by the coastal managers that product. You heard Professor Archilla this morning saying it was difficult to adopt their coastal forecasting system by the coast guards or the authorities. Okay, so impact area 2 is the climate downscaling and multidisciplinary climate downscaling. Impact area 3, let's go to this. These are the two most, and actually the climate downscaling is a bit bigger than the early warning. Okay, and then impact area 4 is the third, equal with integrated coastal zone management and marine spatial planning part. So the number, 4 is morphodynamics, so coastal erosion. We know that this is an issue, a very important issue. Every time we have a storm on our coast, we get coastal erosion. Different reasons, we have to know how to deal with this, how to plan in advance. Okay, so that is shorter-term climate and shorter-term impacts on morphodynamics. And the last one is to make the system, to make the integrated, what's called integrated coastal zone management when I was young, and now it's called the marine spatial planning, and now it will be called sustainable ocean planning. So be open to hear more from UNESCO IOC about this new initiative. It's called Sustainable Ocean Planning. Why do we have a sustainable ocean planning? This nice professor said at the meeting, at the first meeting, said because marine spatial planning could be not sustainable. So we need the sustainability word in it. Good. Okay, so now the stakeholder groups. And this is very valuable. We have to use that in the pilot site implementation a lot. So we have local regional authorities, which are very big, and they are connected with the science community of the pilot sites. Okay, that's a key issue. To have this demonstration at specific sites is that you get the scientists and their community. Marine protected area management agencies, emergency response, national weather forecasting centers. Yes, because we are user of national weather services products, but they also need us, okay, to get the proper feedback between the ocean and the atmosphere. And then, all the others, okay? Now, how do we think of implementing this? And so this is the schematic that you find in the GlobalCoast document on the web. And so what is new here is that we have the pilot sites with product services and training developed specifically for their impact areas and across pilot sites, so they communicate, okay, but how do they communicate? While we are developing. So we have time, but not too much. So we have to develop and communicate, okay? So we have the GlobalCoast infrastructure. The GlobalCoast infrastructure, which will be further defined later by Giovanni, is an infrastructure that allows to break the barrier of hardware. Hardware should not be a problem anymore. We need to elaborate on how to make it sustainable for the public and the private, but this is the solution. Clearly, you can't expect all our administrations to react as fast as we want to buy a computer. This is old. We have to bypass this. So we have a GlobalCoast infrastructure, which will be defined later, more in detail, with the schematic that, and thank Marcus, is it? No, Miguel, sorry, Miguel, Marcus, I don't know why Marcus. Miguel, I'm old, so you all know. So implementation and pilot sites, he has shown you already the big design, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to say what possibly we have to put in the pilot sites. We need to have open and free global products from available repositories. So we hope to work with Decade Collaborative Center Ocean Prediction, right? Because most of the data are available there, but we want to download is already a bad word, access the data from these repositories for our area. We don't need terabytes of data for your pilot area. You may accumulate a terabyte if you want, but we don't need that, and so we need to have them available for your area, because we know people still do not use what is available. Okay, so then new coastal in situ, especially with low-cost sensors, I think this will become a very important theme for CoastPredict. We are in the coast, we are where there are people, we should involve the population, we need to raise awareness. How better do this work than with citizen science? There's no better way. Okay, so new remote sensing, we haven't spoken about that. I hope next year we will. We are trying to work out what is the new satellite. And then predictive models for coastal marine, AI predictive models for coastal marine ecosystem. I will show you an example. Okay, and coastal vulnerability, exposure data. We always forget about vulnerability. We don't want to talk about that part, but now we can do it from satellite. So different level of user interface and services and best practice. Okay, CoastPredict at tilo site, transforming the observing. So this is one which I always show, which yet is not interfaced properly with CoastPredict, is the smart sensors that allowed us to do accurate hurricane forecasting in this area. This is Georgia, United States, and this is the amount of sea level sensors that were constructed by the population and put in the marshes near where they live. So it's called the smart sensor. I hope sooner or later we will involve them with us. So here, sediment transport at the coast. This is 20-meter resolution Sentinel-2 data. It's to be used. You see a lot of details. Okay, and we should use them in the modeling. Transforming the observing. Our fishery observing, this is the Italian one, but we have FV-ON, which is more adequate, I have to say, because it's voluntary. So fishery oceanographic observing system, look at the amount of data. And since personally I did assimilate this data, I can tell you that the models are really kept on track by this data, assimilating this data. So then here is marine debris. And AI methods now to recognize all these marine debris. Again, Sentinel-2, high-resolution data. Transforming the predicting. This is our attempt in Italy with a simple PhD student, simple. Very good. Simple. I mean, this is simple. I don't know where it comes from. But anyway, excellent student. And then where we have this very expensive model run. I mean, running for 50 years, nested, worry about the boundary conditions. So we built that, and we said, how about if I instruct an AI network, and I train it in one point of this model, and I want the forecast in the other point? Here it is. That's the result. So this is the truth, is a numerical model surge, which in the whole area. And this is what the AI learning from another position gives in this position. This position is here, the other position was here. And it takes a minute. Okay. So I think we are there. We need to transform the forecasting using Ensemble. We have many now aspects of this cured. Ensemble forecasting, this is a storm surge in Italy, here in the Goro Lagoon, and you see that the spread, tells you something is happening because I have an extreme event coming, and the ensemble mean is better than the single determinative forecast. And the adaptation solutions, which are nature-based solutions, okay? So we have a portfolio of these solutions that we would like to, but many communities, I show the one that I know really well about, because I like to be still a little bit of a scientist. And then, but we have people here that have much more than this, okay, available. And this is the value of having the projects with the networking of the experts. Okay, and the services that we have developed along the time. We have many services that stem out of this initial product delivery. observing and forecasting. Okay, so next phase. In the next phase, we want to formalize, and we will discuss more this afternoon, our global coast network, also for the future, to have other people entering, knowing what has been done in 2024. So in 2025, when we reopen, we have something to offer, the terms of reference, something very light that will, however, help to form the first global coast network. Design the global coast infrastructure. This is taking all our time, okay, if I have to say. And we are very happy that we do it together with Fugro, so that we have their experience and their understanding of how to do that in a sustainable and feasible way. We have to define pilot site projects. So we have already undertaken several steps. You know, I probably have said many times that we want to start with adaptation funds, resources, and I have to say, thanks to Emma, we have been able to start talking with UNESCO, IOC, to have UNESCO becoming the multilateral implementing agency, so that UNESCO will drive from the top, and then we will have the pilot areas aggregated in some way under different projects. And I'm very happy to say that that seems to be possible. And finally, I think we will, through this work, elaborate similarities, differences between pilot sites and CoastPredict solutions, which a very smart student yesterday asked me, but do you know how to differentiate between solutions and coastal areas? I said, not yet. But we have 124 sites to start to think about this, and then in the future more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia, for a very clear presentation of what Global Coast experiment is, the initial implementation phase of CoastPredict, and I think it's very much needed and illuminating. And now I think the next presentation precisely goes more along this, and it's going to be presented by Tom Parry from Fugro on the public-private partnership for demonstrations of services. And this is, again, one of the key elements of CoastPredict, which is working together with the private sector, public experience, science, but certainly together working with the private sector. Tom, the floor
Thanks,
is yours.
Joaquin. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much. So today I'm going to be discussing the value of public-private partnership and what that could hold in delivering scalable ocean solutions. So for the last 10 years, I've been working with Fugro, delivering marine technology and services across the globe. And I think this has given me a good understanding of the sort of commercial elements and the business elements of delivering technology, and I've hoped that I could bring this into the team. So over the last sort of 12 months, I've been working with the CoastPredict board to really try and frame the business case, for want of a better term, around how we build a scalable solution going forward. So in my talk today, I want to try and condense what I've learned so far and give my thoughts on how we can move forward together to develop the Global Coast Cloud. So it's always good to start with the why. So why do we need Global Coast Cloud? Across our coastal zones, an estimated 2.6 billion people are exposed to climatic and oceanographic change. Data is vital in understanding our response to this change, and with it we can forecast, we can plan, and we can unlock finance to build coastal resilience. However, there exist significant gaps in the coverage of fit-for-purpose ocean technology, and closing this gap is a vital step in growing resilient coastlines around the world. By enhancing coastal ocean data services, GlobalCoast Cloud aims to create a scalable coastal data network that will enable more access to observational data insights to drive better decisions everywhere. Now, as a business, Fugro approaches innovation by understanding these three critical elements. And I think it's clear in the room we have a great coverage of the feasibility and the technical capability. But to deliver scalable solutions, we also need to consider the desirability of solutions we deliver, and more importantly, the viability of solutions we deliver. If we go along this road and we find that we have this amazing solution, but it's not economically viable to build, then we can't go any further. And that's a real big barrier that we need to overcome together. I think this is a place where the private sector can really help the public sector to move forward. Now, I'm going to present some numbers, and this is the bit of the scary bit, but right now, financial investment is a barrier to success. It's clear that we have the potential solutions, but to secure investment to move forward, we need to reduce risk. One of the major roles the private sector can play is in supporting initiatives like GlobalCoast is reduce investment risk by lowering cost and time of delivery. Now, firstly, we need to understand the scale of what we're trying to achieve here. And like any model, they're all wrong, but some are useful. And I think the model that I've used to come up with the economic numbers is a useful summary of the potential cost of delivering this solution at scale. So I've used a scenario of 100 countries by 2030, and I've analysed that it would cost around 2.9 billion to scale this across 100 countries, requiring around 1,800 sensors and around 3 million kilometres of coastal ocean data and models. It's not just this initial investment that we have to consider. When we build systems, we have to consider the continuous maintenance and improvement of systems, and typically we spend around 3 to 6% a year on maintaining systems and around 10 to 15% on improving systems. So when we think about how we go to market, for want of a better term, we need to think about how we build cost-effective, lower-risk investment and sustainable solutions that reduce the need for external funding and investment. Wrong slides. Oh no, it is the right, sorry, right slides, forgive me. Okay. Imagine a world where leading public and private sectors entities collaborate to deliver scalable ocean technology. This is the vision at the heart of this initiative. Focusing on innovation, expertise sharing, and the co-design of solutions, we aim to deliver faster, more efficient, and scalable solutions that create a triple win scenario. For public science, it's about creating greater success from public science to deliver public good at scale. For private sector, it's about creating new digital and data markets to sustainably grow business. And for investors, it's about creating lower risk, higher impact investments. Now, traditionally, 70% of innovation doesn't intend its achieved outcome. This is something that we have to realize within this room. So we need to be able to fail fast and learn from what we do. So we need to start actually trying some of the things we're trying to achieve. The private sector has developed the processes, organizations, and supply chains that enable success. And by collaborating and adopting these approaches, we can support the public sector to solve societal challenges at scale. We need to start experimenting and testing concepts through the GlobalCoast initiative, and we will work together to rapidly test ideas through co-design, validate solutions that are fit for purpose, and create investable solutions that reduce risk. Now, last year, Fugro announced our 2030 vision, as you can see on the screen here. And a big part of this vision is about harnessing the power of Earth data to create a safer and more sustainable world. As a private entity, we're at the forefront of ocean technology. We recognize that we can't do it all. It's just not smart for business. The world needs bigger and closer partnerships and collaborations that will amplify the benefits of ocean technology, and together we can build this. So as we look forward, we need to look at what we can deliver together. I believe it's about not reinventing the wheel to reduce the time and cost of delivery. I believe it's about reducing investment risk to catalyze ocean technology growth. It's about building the right partnerships to support this development going forward, both from the public sector and the private sector. And it's about creating financially self-sustaining systems through blended, open, and commercial models. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Tom, and thanks for keeping the time. I think now we have the next presentation from Giovanni Compini from CMCC, Director of CMCC, on a very relevant element also from GlobalCoast, and that's the GlobalCoast cloud. And Giovanni will be presenting us on progress and partnerships. Thanks very much, Giovanni.
Yeah. Thank you, Joaquin. And I will present now what's the concept behind and the challenge of the cloud infrastructure that we want to co-develop. So first of all, why it's important, as Nadia highlighted this morning, the cloud infrastructure itself will be a change transformer. Sorry. Yeah. So the cloud infrastructure will allow the community to access the data, to use the data directly, and will be also taking care of equitable science, and as well make available the innovative products that you will develop. So somehow the innovation of this infrastructure is that it will serve the different 100 pilots which are across 30 regions of the ocean. So it's already a challenge itself. The variety of data and products is large. And as I was saying, it will enhance the accessibility of this product. It will offer equitable access to cutting-edge tools and to analytics tools without the need for local high-performance computing resources. And that's, of course, quite important. It's, as you will see and you have seen in one of the slides, it will allow also not only public access, but also private exploitation. So that has to be developed. I mean, this is a design, but I think it's important to keep the two community, or better say, the public and private partnership alive. I go back to the slide you have seen before, just to highlight that each of the region in the infrastructure could have, where needed, could have a digital pilot platform. So gathering, at least in the first step, the information from each of the pilot sites. And of course, the combination and interoperability capacity of this DPP will build the global coast infrastructure. So the infrastructure itself should contain all the information from the pilot sites and should allow the development of the services for risk assessment and management. It will in this way remove the need of local HPC capacity and resources. It should allow equitable access to knowledge sharing and also allow the sharing of the service development. So not only the final products, but the development itself will be possible on the platform. As you have seen from Nadia, this will be done through the implementation of the different components of the pilot sites and then shared through the platform and the infrastructure. So here is, I just repeat what will be the main characteristics, so the freely access, open and freely access to the products, the inclusion of new sensors. These are also challenges for the infrastructure itself. Now, one aspect is that this infrastructure that we are building should be fully interoperable and also, I'd say, composed of the different infrastructure that exists today. So here you recognize that some of the existing global capacity of data sharing and data availability, and the global cost infrastructure should be one component of the overall picture with a focus on coastal products. So the different components of the infrastructure itself will allow, let's say, to ingest and then make available observation, as well as on-demand relocatable modeling, and the final solutions for the managers. So, of course, the infrastructure itself and the different components should be exploitable also, and especially for training and outreach. So here is another schematic that presents the infrastructure with the focus on the cloud computing platform. And here you see the different products, innovative products that comes to be available both for private and public exploitation. And then on the right side, the access to the services. Of course, these are examples of services which add value to the entire chain. You should also keep in mind, you have seen in the presentation of Miguel and others, that these infrastructure need to be interoperable, connected with other existing cloud, which are not per se dedicated to the coastal environment, but just to mention the Blue Cloud, as well as the Editor Infra or the NOAA cloud system. So think about these different cloud that will be interoperable and integrated through our platform. Highlighting some of the challenging of implementing this infrastructure is for sure the interoperability and scalability. So we need to ensure the seamless integration with existing digital infrastructure. Here's some example I just cited. And also this will allow the further expansion. When Nadia scary us with the 500 pilots, I mean, we need to be robust enough to really accommodate the new expansion. The data management, I connect with what Miguel was very nicely presented in the CORIS project this morning. So we need to develop through CORIS the standardizing data collection, ensuring quality control, and establishment of effective data sharing protocols. All the projects and the pilot are working to do to ensure the stakeholder engagement. And this will be achieved also through a co-design process. So I think the pilots itself, as you have seen, include the stakeholder initial analysis, and our pilots are connected. So we need to leverage this connection with the stakeholders through co-design of the infrastructure itself to understand what are exactly the needed, and this will be done through projects. As also Joe was mentioning this morning, also in climate downscaling, you need really to interact with the stakeholder community to gather their impression and needs in order to be reflected then in the infrastructure. Of course, we need resources to develop this infrastructure, and part of it are already, let's say, found and allocated. We saw the work done in Blue Cloud, for instance, and for sure also in Editor Infra, but we need more. We submitted a project recently on in the framework of GlobalCoast. Is a small project is a coordinated and support action for the cooperation with Europe and Africa. It's called CoastRise. Here some main information of the project. So it's about enhancing African research infrastructure and capacity for coastal resilience. I think it's also good to show CoastRise to show you how we should work, meaning that we try to involve as much as possible the relevant European, but especially the African countries. We end up with more than 20 partners, including 8 African countries. And of course we will design. I mean, the CSA action is a small amount of money. It's mainly for start to design the training, the observing capacity, but also the need for the cloud and maybe some demonstration of the cloud capacities. This is and all the pilots from Africa that were available and willing to contribute were invited. So that it was very interesting. Other projects was mentioned this morning. Focus is started and is mainly on observing a modeling system, and TwinUp proposal is still in the phase of being a proposal. But these are mainly European ones. So the African one was very important because it's with the objective of enlarging the partnership, the cooperation. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Super, thanks, Giovanni. I think this is such a great team that we have been able to catch up with time. So thanks very much, everybody. And so we are right on time, and we were supposed at 12 to start the discussion, and that's exactly what we are going to do. And now comes a very important part of the morning session after all the presentations and after setting the stage of where we are after those years and actions. What we want is to have a session on discussion on the GlobalCoast implementation strategy. And so this is very relevant and very important. And what we're going to be doing is as you see on the screen, we have a number of questions. You have here the first one. And Mered will be running the different questions and keeping the time. We have, in principle, like 2 minutes per question, and in some cases, we probably don't need that much. We can have also questions between slides. Sure. I mean, feel free. This is the idea is really to have Slido is useful because we get all the answers and we record all that. But at the same time, if there are specific questions from the audience, we are happy to take them. And as I said, Mered is running the Slidos, and Holger here. Thanks, Holger, is going to be capturing really the keynotes and the comments. So feel free, as I said, to ask questions or comments.
We can add comments to the next question.
Recording in progress.
Through Slido to add comments. So, yeah.
Okay, I think the first question is very relevant, of course. We want to be sure that the GlobalCoast ambition is clear and comprehensive. And so there's kind of a 20% of the audience that thinks we can do better. So I think it's pretty good. Pretty good meaning we still have to do better.
No. Joachim, I just wanted to point out that there are 54. We are keeping the time slow now because 54 people connected to the Slido. I think we are a bit more than that. If people have any problem to connect, let us know because we want as much as possible. Oh. The menu. Yeah, thank you. That's a good one. Ah!
What happens?
Are you? Is okay? Amazing. It goes exactly there. Why not the other side? Ah, fantastico. It's back again.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm going to insist. I'll take that on me. I would really love to hear a comment on what else is needed. Anybody?
Yeah, so
I want
Billy
to hear
wants
it.
this. Yeah, what else is needed? Billy is correct. Yes, please.
As I was answering this question, for me, it's clear. But then I was thinking about my stakeholders. And I was thinking about my emergency managers. I was thinking about my local officials. And it would not be clear for them. So definitely for us in the audience of science, we've seen this over again. Yes, we're probably comfortable with the language, we can handle it. But if we're thinking about sharing this with other people, it has to be reworked a little bit more. Thanks.
Good point. Thanks very much. Very good point.
Maybe one more?
So can I rephrase it by saying it's a communication issue. So we need to work better on our communication of the aims and objectives, right? For a broader audience, which we need to reach, yes.
I think
Any
it's
other
somehow
comment?
Sorry. I think it's somehow translated, if I understand correctly. It's translated really our language to a more stakeholder-oriented language. And I think it's very relevant. Thanks. Giovanni, sorry, go ahead.
How are we? Oh, this is
how-
a question.
how are
Very
we
nice.
planning on making resources equal for all pilot sites that will drive the goals?
Ha.
Is that achievable?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think as much as it's a really nice idea, I think we have to be realistic about what we can actually achieve on the ground. I think the goal is obviously to make things fair and equal through the FAIR system. But in developing this system, we have to sort of go where we can initially get funding. That's the first thing. And go where we can demonstrate some initial value. So I think overall the ultimate goal is to make an equal system, but to begin with we're going to have to make some choices going forward.
If I might add, I really agree with Tom. We said many times we need to show success in order to expand. But one thing that our network will do is that it is our coordination as CoastPredict. Since I won't be doing much of the technical work myself, I think that with the team that we have now and even expanded with the DCC, I think we can try to make at least evident the progress where we don't have the funding at the moment. So the network helps to do this. We did it in the Mediterranean. It was very useful, even for people not receiving directly funding, be aware of what was happening. So, but we need to go with the cases where we can show success. There are pilot cases, but the one that can, or the one that are more challenging but can have the funding.
Okay, thanks. I think I have a quick comment from some of the questions. Not all pilots will have the same requirements, that's clear. And one of the clear, I would say, strong points of CoastPredict certainly is to listen to stakeholders from the beginning. That's exactly how the survey was done. So we are actually collecting all the information already from the stakeholders. So not all the requirements from the different, so the resources will not be the same then, etc. But I think we have to move to the... Okay,
just a quick comment, and it's kind of following everything you're saying. It's, I think what we have to harvest, even if we don't have like really hard funding, is the collaboration so we can start our pilots. And on something like the Brazilian problem and Mexican problem, we are a big country. We'll cover very small parts just to do something, but we should start somewhere. And I think it's by collaborations. And I'm sure we can start like a good modeling with just a few dollars going and visiting and helping us. I talked with you yesterday, Joaquin. I've been talking with Nadia and Giovanni to try to do that. And I'm sure I can talk with people in NOC. So it's ways to try to harvest that first part just by collaborations. We can advance a lot, at least in the modeling and probably in the observations, just with trying to collaborate.
Collaboration is certainly the key word, and it was actually also one of the key conclusions in yesterday's Ocean Prediction DCC session. And thank you very much for your comment. And certainly, CoastPredict is here really to provide a frame and to provide and share solutions, certainly, through collaboration. Thanks very much. But I think if you agree, we move to the second, otherwise we will never end up. Thanks very much. So next question. Okay. Are the data, knowledge, and information requirements sufficiently addressed?
Environments in this area that we are seeing here.
Comments from
the
here,
meanwhile,
the audience,
Gada?
while we are answering. Yes. Thanks, Gada.
Okay. So then I have actually the question on the data. So, yeah, I have to eat it. So, okay, so then it is very clear what you are trying to do, but for me, it is not very clear how can we, having the data on the cloud, for example, would be benefiting other pilot sites. This is, for me, because the data is really for a specific pilot site, how can I, from another pilot, benefit from the data availability of that site? That is very not clear.
I think the idea behind the sort of co-design process is not so much about the physical data that we'll generate. It's more the learning that we gather from each site. Yeah. It's really about learning about the application of data. I mean, data is data, but we really need to understand how we derive data products and services from this, and how we can serve a critical mass of people. And I think that's what we can gain from the co-design process, and that's how the knowledge will be shared across each site.
Okay. I have Jay Perlman. I have two comments to respond to two comments. On Gada, it's not necessarily only the sharing of data. It's the sharing of the methods used. It's the sharing of the way we do business. And that can be as valuable as the data sharing itself. And so I think we need to frame that as part of the work we're doing. The second comment here is the collaboration and partnership. It's essential, but let me say that you need a framework to do that. So as people join the partnership, they know what they're committing to, and we know how to gather the information from those partners. And so I think creating the infrastructure and the framework, and Tom, I'm sure you would respond to that, is absolutely essential and very near term.
Yeah, fully agree, Jay. I think the bigger this gets, the more complicated it gets. The more interfaces that we have, the more complicated it gets. So it's not just about having the technical capability, it's about having the right organizational structures to manage the scale of what we're trying to achieve. Having the right people in place to do the right jobs is really important in this going forward.
Okay, so thank you for the presentation and thank you for all the work that has been done. So I am a co-PI of Ocean Decade program and I know how it's difficult to organize everything with very reduced support, so congratulations for that. As concerns the data requirements, I guess that you have big challenge ahead of you, but you know that. You mentioned in your priorities, for instance, biogeochemistry and hypoxia, and you already have regions of the world where, for the coastal ocean, the data are not there. And it's really a way probably to encourage the sharing of data and the putting of the data in the database, and there, of course, you have limited support, limited staff to do that, and I don't know if connection with the GOOS Regional Alliance in some region of the world, where we really see that there is a whole of data there, if it's feasible to help you, or how do you see to fill the gap in terms of data for some region of the world, especially for biogeochemistry, and which is important since you mentioned hypoxia and all these extreme events. Thank you very much.
So, as you know, we are mainly, we are trying to sponsor new measurements, and among them, we want to have multidisciplinary measurements. I was going to ask, for example, the fishery observing system to really start thinking of more more quantities measured by the system, the fishery. So we are in the decade in a unique position. We have DCC data sharing. We have the DCO ocean observing, for which has also the GRAs. I mean, this question of GOOS and the GRAs that are not completely well connected, we should solve it during the decade. And so when I say that we try to retrieve in our cloud what is existing, definitely if there is biogeochemistry, we should. So if there is in the NODCs, if there is in WIS2, if there is in InfoHub, whatever is the source that is available, we should. The new infrastructure that has been set for the decade is important to use with the request of getting what is available. But I believe that we should get new information because it's really lacking. Whatever, even for oxygen, you teach me that we have now methods that once were not used in the past. So how you intercalibrate, I have no idea. But in any case, I think it's the time that we should start to collect them in the best way, especially biogeochemistry. So effort, in my opinion, here should not be data rescue so much, even though we will try to do as much as possible, data rescue, also to be in touch with your program, but is also new measurements with citizen science sensors that allow you to do that kind of measurement. Yeah, so.
I think just to add to that, I ask everyone to think about what their minimum viable product will be. I think to begin with, we need to start with thinking about effort versus reward. So by doing all of this, what we've just talked about, what value is that going to create? And is that the biggest value we can create right now? So I think there's a lot of things we want to do. And I think the scope of what we're trying to do is complex and ambitious, but is needed. So I ask everyone to really think about minimum viable product. And if you don't know what minimum viable product is, Google it. I think any product you build starts with a minimum viable. What is that going to look like for CoastPredict?
The development of a digital platform for anything, digital twin or the platform for utilization of data is very expensive, and it's really only the start of the money going out the window, if you will. The maintenance, the upgrades, the improvement of that over time is very much necessary, and that costs money. So my question is, what is the appetite for a fee for service, or at least a partial fee for service, to the public community, and how might that allow us to draw in the private sector as a partner in the development, maintenance, and deployment of such a platform as you're asking for here?
Yeah. So you're saying that it is very expensive, the maintenance and so, but maybe not so much, and I apologize if my understanding and knowledge of that cost is not appropriate, but I want to say it because to me is much more expensive to have resources, hardware resources dispersed in the world ocean or in the world countries, and being not reliable enough, because the local resources will never be reliable enough to give the continuous monitoring, the forecasting in time, all that. And we tried this, even in Europe. We started with different data storage systems, and we convert Siemens, the Copernicus system, into a unique system storing all the data. Now, however, we don't want to have that centralization done without any scope. But even for the local, to empower the local people with systems that are a bit more reliable in the services that they have to offer, I think it is a solution. And then I conclude because it will be long. I thought to myself many times that in our public-private partnership, we have to try to walk up the step of thinking that the public will endorse the private to keep the infrastructure running. It's not easy, but we have an example. NOAA is using Amazon and I don't remember now exactly, but Amazon for sure, cloud, yes, AWS, to build their cloud. I mean, there's no lack of capacity there. And so, but it is really a new model. Now, I don't know if we can develop it with CoastPredict because it looks, but if we start to see that our systems are reliable, finally, they can give their forecasts reliably, they can share the data and learn from the others through the cloud, I think this is a big positive impact we will never have with local systems.
If I can add, I think here we are suffering of fragmentation today. I mean, we have seen brilliant solutions already available, but the accessibility and to replicate those solutions is very limited. Even big actors in Europe and other areas, they have a block, I mean, to really replicate this solution and make them available and accessible. So I think the cloud, in this sense, if we will keep the ownership to this infrastructure, I mean the ownership by the partnership of GlobalCoast to the infrastructure, so people will learn how to use it, how to benefit from this, I think, and we need to demonstrate it. Then I think the cost will be minimized compared to if you calculate what is spent today to solve the cost of problems, even without really finding the right solution of it.
Thanks very much, Gio. And just quick comment on your question, Terry, which I think is very relevant. And I'm actually back to some of your interventions yesterday in the afternoon session. I think we don't have to think really about today's existing observing systems, which is fragmented, which have different pieces, not all of them connected, etc. Where we have to go is to what you suggested yesterday, actually, I think. So what is the observing system that is needed in 2030? And I think it has to be a fit-for-purpose observing system with commonalities between the different local sites. And back to something you actually said, we have to think big, but at the same time, realistically, and if I can conclude, realistically, back to what I would call the Paris minimum viable product suggestion, which I think is very relevant. So that will be my comments.
Yeah, Terry, a really good question. I think to be transparent, for any private sector to be involved in this, there has to be a financial return on investment. You know, the reason we are here is that we see an opportunity. Yes, it's a very big, complex thing that we're trying to achieve, but if we're able to achieve it, I believe that we can use commercial data products to help pay for public good services. I think we can leverage some of the profit that could be made from commercial products to completely pay for it, creating a self-sustaining system. It's a big dream. Is it achievable? That's what we want to find out.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks, everybody. I think we switch to our next question. This one. Okay. Which topic for training will be most useful to start the implementation of GlobalCoast? Please choose two at maximum. That's a tricky one. We have to prioritize. We cannot do, we can't do everything. So everything is important, but we have to prioritize. So
we put ambushes in the. I tried this with a class of 16 years old middle school students, and I'll tell you what was the answer later.
While we are waiting for people to finish, I actually have one comment, which right now, looking at the topics we propose for the Slido, I think we actually miss at least one. We probably miss more. But we're missing one, certainly, which I think is really training on society engagement-related topics, co-design, etc. Most of us don't really have the training, back to the translation that you were suggesting before. So I think we do have to have some specific training or specific experts, yes, that really bring this forward. I think the results are very relevant and very useful. So any comments? Okay, so.
Comment with respect to the previous question that is interesting for me. I just want to try to answer. It was about the quality of low-cost sensors with respect to the rest, and the traditional, more consolidated platforms. And I think my way to look at this is that sparseness of data is a very is a very bad constraint in our observing system at the moment. I cannot use probably most of the time efficiently one point, the grid point, to update my model and to calibrate my model. So I prefer to have lower accuracy, more frequent, so I decrease the error by frequency, averaging, and then having, as a modeler, 1 point measured in my area of interest. So it is a concern, the quality, but I also believe that in the future this is going to improve. And so it's not a forever problem, but the scarcity, the data scarcity is a problem for the coast especially.
Thanks very much, Nadia. I think we can switch then, Myred, to... Oh, I'm sorry. Marco, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nadia. You know that I love this point. So I agree with you. It's a very important point, but there is only one problem. The problem of the low-cost technologies is not the data quality in terms of accuracy, but is the quality in terms of the time quality. So if during the lifetime of the sensors you can lose not the quality of the data, you can lose the data, because the problem is that they don't have a stability in time. So it's the first more important problem I've experimented, and sometimes so you need to compare the technologies and to train for the use of technologies, because you need to have not so high accuracy data, because I really agree with you, but you need to have a stable and long-term, the same quality of the data in a long-term data acquisition time. So it's the point for me. So maybe the idea to have a point in this program focused on the maybe a site, one of the sites that we can decide together, where we can experiment the long-term stability of all the technologies, and we can compare, we can correct if there is some problems. Is very important, because it's a very important point of this project. It's the first time that we speak about this in the world, so at this level, so it's very important. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Just, I think Aleta back, and while you bring the micro, my comment on data quality is that I prefer to always talk, as in the question, data quality control, because data quality control implies that there is a purpose for those data. And sometimes you need 1 digit, and sometimes you need 3 digits. So it's really purpose dependent in many cases. So we have to be careful of talking about data quality, but Aleta, you're...
Thank you. So CoastPredict is planning to implement or to develop like new innovative tools, models, model systems, and data systems. So I was just wondering, in relation to the pilot sites, how would these kinds of trainings that would be starting, I guess, sooner than later, how would the new tools, how would these be then integrated or put into place in the pilot sites with activities that are already ongoing, versus will we, use the older tools first, and then how would you phase in these newer technologies then?
If I might, so we need to have, the minimum viable product. Now we have, this is very important concept, and I have to adapt my mind to this, but I feel is a very important concept. So now, if the minimum viable product is done with existing systems, but they've never been accessed and put together in that area, we're going to start from that. Okay? And we have the people who know the local situation, the scientists that have worked for years in the area, and they know what is missing. So, yes, I think that we need to start with something that is innovative, new, but maybe putting together things that already exist. My preference would be to move very fast to a new system, if it is in situ, low-cost sensors, or if it is new satellite data that you never calibrated for your area, fine, it will be decided. But I think that, yes, the minimum viable product has that concept.
If I can add,
yeah.
I think the projects that we have seen today, so not the pilots, but the projects already have the community inside that can offer the minimum valuable products and then progressively design and develop through funded projects the new opportunities. So I think we need to start, as Nadia is saying, from accessing what is available today, and then progressively improve the training level, because the products themselves will improve.
What do you? We go next one.
I want to tell you about this, the pool you see on the screen. So the 16-year-old said, all of them AI. Okay, we're okay. So, yeah.
Okay, we go to the next question then, Myra, please. Okay, what are the priorities for formulating partnerships for GlobalCoast? And again, choose 2 at maximum, please. Exchange experiences.
That being said, I'm not the only person deciding on what we do.
So we can leave the Slido open after today. So in follow-up, we'll send a link with the Slido questions, particularly for any that have a longer commenting option, if you want to add any thoughts after today.
So maybe we can fix the end by the Barcelona, at the end of the Barcelona meeting. Huh? Yeah. This week. And you can, think about it and give more thought. Okay.
comment?
So I think the answer says for itself. I think what I was talking about the data and data sharing, is not that much relevant, but it's the know-how that is very relevant for others to learn from each other, and this is really the exchange of experience. Maybe the infrastructure is, I don't know, I'm not going to be talking about the infrastructure because I think that there are plenty of infrastructures in Europe and outside of Europe that would deal with data and deals with models and deals with forecasting. Do we need another one? I'm not really sure. There are ERICs, there are research infrastructures as well. So, but the knowledge, the experiences, and the know-how, this is what we miss in the coastal zone. This is what is needed from all of the people. They would like to learn and use maybe their own tools, but also get advice on how to use their own tools, in advance their own tools to cope with the questions of the stakeholders. So I think it speaks for itself that the CoastPredict can really do the difference or have the difference on exchanging experiences.
Much very useful, Gara. And I think we can move to our next question, Meredith. Thanks. Okay, next one is, do you have any additional comments regarding the content, approach, or potential impact of GlobalCoast and its implementation plan, please? Any additional ideas, suggestions?
I'm actually going to say something more about this. Yes, I know it is very important to use the network that GlobalCoast has started to share this experience, but I think we also need to innovate in the way we do it. And a way to innovate is to get new data in place, because we need new data, and or say, you know, it really is impossible without having a calibration set of stations and so on. So it means doing something innovative. And the other part is that we know that all the systems that are now in place are not accessed by the Global South. So if you go in Ghana and you ask them, which CMEMS system do you use, which is the global, the only one that is possible in Ghana, CMEMS, they don't know. They haven't used the system that would allow them to take that area of the global system into their, okay, so we do not have accessibility. We think we have it. So breaking the accessibility barrier is something that the cloud can do. I am very convinced of that. And in Europe, in fact, we are moving to that. Edito Infra is going to add, but we have to move it also for the other systems that will be put in place and will not go into Edito Infra. So we can't wait to have, you know, something decided by somebody else. So we take a system that would work everywhere, and we implement with the standards, the right standards everywhere to be interoperable. If it will be one cloud, okay, I'm not sure we can do it, but it will be, it is the place where we can make accessible the data in a way that has not been done before. And we can do, you know, we can say more technical issues that I've learned in the last year, talking with people that work on cloud, where you have, you know, real options with respect to downloading. And so downloading is not an option. can be an option. So.
Thanks very much, Nadia. I think we have some very nice suggestions and additional comments, but I think we still have 4 or 5 minutes, and then we're done with the Slido, right? Yes. Okay. So don't forget about Slido, and we want your brain. We want to really directly your ideas about what we should be doing better or what should we change. Please, don't be shy. I mean, some of the things have already emerged, and we try to capture that with the Slido, but I'm sure there are other issues that related to the different experiences in the room we can change or do better. Thanks very much.
Thanks. So I think this, what I'm about to say, kind of parallels with a lot of conversations that have been happening both on the financial side of it, but then about data quality, cost, things like that. And that's essentially that I think we as an ocean observing community and modeling need to be thinking and getting inspiration from the way that weather obs work and having different tiers of different resolution. And so, you know, there can be a lower resolution but still adequate, you know, certified quality, and so then still these, you know, super high resolution things like that. And, you know, so having these kind of different systems, different tiers, but not, and I do think that you know, the ocean observing community is kind of in a transition from being project basis to like we need sustained observations, especially in the coastal regions, and so we need to kind of change our thoughts about how that works, and also not be chasing, you know, a CTD for under $50 that produces garbage data. You know, we need to make sure that that quality is still going to be there and thinking about the whole value chain of that data. So.
Thanks very much. Further comment, please? Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. What will happen 2030? So, I mean, GlobalCoast is supposed to be something sustainable, I guess, and sustainability is a long-term thing. So what is going to happen after GlobalCoast stops, or is there a stop, or how will it continue?
My wild guess. We should elaborate the answer with you. But, you know, I started with a dream, right? So, unfortunately. I'm going to show you the Bruce Springsteen movie. Okay, so the coastal community is coming to the scene of oceanography now. And I think is this bridging of oceanography and engineering that, you know, is really novel, the novel way. And but it's going to remain an important community for UNESCO IOC. It has always been, but like in the background. I've worked with UNESCO IOC from 1992, so I know. And everybody was talking about Argo, thinking about their coastal area. But we wanted Argo. We know we need Argo, but it's not the coastal area yet. So how do we do the last mile to get member states understanding that they, in UNESCO IOC, they are the people, the policymakers, understanding. So we need to organize these groups. We have GRAs, we have GOOSE groups, we have IODE groups for national oceanographic data centers, different groups. So the decade is going to change a little bit of that structure. And if I cannot really say what it will be, but it will be different after this decade. This decade is the decade where people have started to it's an extenuating bottom-up process. But at a certain point, there will be a top-down process. When all these systems that are in place, already people are thinking about this, will start to converge and have priorities. So my dream, which I think seems far away, but it is possible, is that the coastal community is going to make more to be an important community for UNESCO IOC at the end. And now is not enough an important one, with an exception. And we have to work with them, with the tsunami program people. The exception is that tsunami already encompass many of the issues that we are talking about here, the tsunami program. But unfortunately, we cannot do only tsunami. And actually, we strengthen to tsunami if we go multi-hazard, because we can't only pay for very expensive buoys, tsunami collecting data. And so we need to, so this is the panorama that we have. We have this very complex system. But, it is, CoastPredict and other programs are driving toward the coast the attention. And so what will be, it is our contribution. So GlobalCoast Network, if we make it, will contribute to that process. Through the GRAs, through GOOS in general, we don't know. Or through another program of UNESCO IOC, we don't know. But it's the only way that we can make it the attention. We can put the attention on that. So this is my wish.
I love your dream, but I think it's the kind of problem that any observing system has had I know the success of Joaquin and the success of Germany and the Canadians of keeping their observing systems, but not everybody has been able. So I think that part of sustainability is something that we have to chase. Probably these cheaper instruments, but do we need them real time? So will that be more expensive? And then it's also the education at the people. At the moment where I am, I'm trying to get my boys into the water and get them waves and wind and whatever. And they say, no, I get windy, I get the same, forget it, I don't care. And they don't take care of my instruments because of that. And then try to explain them, no, because that's deep ocean waves, and they're going to transform, or the currents are going to be different. So I think it's also that part of education to the people.
I think to add to what Nadia said, I think the next 5 years are really about learning what we can achieve. And it's also about demonstrating value. And if we demonstrate value, we're going to continue to grow the system. And I also want you to think that it's not just about technical innovation, it's also about business innovation. We need to think about these mechanisms that are going to enable us to continuously pay for these tools going forward. That's a big part of what we need to learn in the next 5 years.
Thanks. Gada, final question. Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering, what would be the contribution of CoastPredict towards capacity development? And I would suggest that we could plan at least a summer school for this year, and maybe a longer-term remote course where students from postgraduate programs could join. So,
thank you very much. Good point.
I'd like to add one point, Mauro. This is a very important point. So in the Decade Collaborative Center for Coastal Resilience, we are starting this year, finally, to sponsor training, which virtual and non-virtual and so on, together with OTGA, the Ocean Teacher Global Academy of UNESCO, which has the sort of the virtual training. I don't know how to call it this now. But one, and not but, And we have a focus area on capacity building. And one of our priority is to get the expert community around that capacity building, capacity enhancement, better said, area. We don't have a core project. We are supporting, we would love to have this community with us. I mean, you can ask us to help to organize a core project around this. Okay, so we need you experts work with us to formulate. For training, we can find some resources.
So maybe just a comment on Nadia's dream. Sorry. So Nadia, I really like your dream, and I totally agree. The coastal zone has been set not in the heart of everything. So this is about the time. That's why I'm looking critical what is really needed at this moment to enhance the coastal community. I think partnership is one of the key issues that we have to work on. Capacity building is one other thing. They do need, I mean, people, the coastal community in some other places like Africa and others, and even in Europe, I'm not talking only about Africa, and also in Europe and other places in the world, they need this collective thought and experience, collective experience on how to do things, how to improve things, how to achieve what they want to achieve. So I really would very much advise on doing partnership at local level and capacity building at local level.
Thanks very much, Gada. Just a quick final comments from myself. I have two take-home messages from this morning's session, I would say. We need more collaboration, but it's actually more than collaboration. To me, it's partnership. It's really exchanging, it's really being partners from the beginning, and being partners means we have a common goal, okay? So I think we have to advance on that. More listening also. We have been saying this for some time, more listening to society, etc. I also want to make a comment on something that Joe mentioned, more science also. I mean, there's some new processes that you mentioned you were including in the different simulations and in the different, and we also need that, okay? So more science, we don't have answers to all the questions. So science is still a key element. And I'm particularly happy about one question that shows that there's still a lot of work that we have to do, and I'll read it. To me, the answers to these questions indicate that this community is satisfied with status quo and wants more of the same. To me, we need a change of strategy and more outside-the-box thinking. Actually, I agree. So, and I think that's the message that I would like to convey. We're doing well, we're doing good, but at the same time, we have to do better. No more business as usual. We are really trying to transform, following really the decade thinking. And this is not trivial, because we are all, as Terry was saying yesterday, we are thinking about the existing observing system, the observing capacities, etc. No, we want to be really thinking about the 2030 capacities and how we want to transform. So I think in the next months, I think it's certainly, I take it as a personal challenge at least, to show to this anonymous person that he or she was wrong. And I invite you to help me and to help everybody to really move forward and try to show that we are trying to do this outside of the box thinking and no more business as usual. And that's all. Thanks very much for sorry, somebody else? Okay, sorry. Final comments? Very good, thanks.
Sorry, it just came to my head. Sorry, thanks for that. It's been a wonderful morning. I just wanted to ask, or just say as a comment, you know, so many coastal countries are under-resourced, we know that. And we talk a lot about capacity building, but we actually need to build on the capacity there, right? So there are so many coastal countries that don't have institutes to employ people to help support this work. So how can CoastPredict, through Goose, get back to the IOC and the WMO to say, your Met services, you know, if you don't have an oceanographic institute to support this, your Met services need to support this and employ one person to work on coastal observations. How can CoastPredict feed up to the countries so that they can create a post, even just one post, to do this?
Okay, thanks very much for the suggestion and for the comments. Thanks for being here. And I think we break for lunch, right, Myra?
Okay.
Yeah, we're breaking for lunch in the same room, and we're back here. The next session starts at 2:15. So any speakers in that session, if you could just be here by 10 past at the latest. Thank you.
Have a good lunch.